All right, I think we're in good shape.
Okay.
I'm joined now with Dr. Michael Bitzer. Thank you for being with us to weigh in. We come to you as our political expert oftentimes, and we find ourselves right now in the middle of this debate over the economy that's struggling through coronavirus and when businesses should reopen. And who should really get that say? Should it be the governor of North Carolina, or should the president really make that decision? What are your thoughts on this debate?
This is a classic debate in American politics and in American governance in terms of who has authority, either the national government or state governments, through this idea of federalism. And the basic precept that I always teach my students about is that the federal government is a government of limited powers, specifically around the issue of the 10th Amendment, which says any powers not delegated to the national government is reserved to the states. And the states have what are called police powers. Now, we would think about that in law enforcement terms, but the legal concept of police powers is much broader, that the states can basically do any kind of legislation or action that will protect the health, safety, or the welfare of the general public in their states.
And we have seen our local governors in North and South Carolina take that step with the mandated stay-at-home orders unless you are an essential worker. We haven't seen that step from the White House. We've seen recommendations, but there hasn't been a nationwide mandate.
Yeah, and I think that draws the strict constitutional line between the national government and the powers that the state governments have. Yes, the national government has increased its authority, its power. It can certainly influence the states through things like funding to do things that the federal government wants it to do. But the true power to exercise police power over residents and citizens of the states belong to the states.
You mentioned funding and the influence that money can have. We're in a desperate time where we see so many businesses across so many industries struggling to stay afloat. So could that carry enough weight here in North Carolina that we wait for direction from the federal government?
I think certainly if the federal government looks to a fourth coronavirus relief bill, that it would be designed to really substantiate and to support small businesses. But I think the president is seeking to support those small businesses by getting them reopened. And the question becomes, is it an economic issue or is it a public health issue? And I think when the struggle is to try and define what this coronavirus is and how both levels of government are going to react to them. Certainly the federal government has been willing with $2 trillion to pump into the economy. There's talk about even more of a kind of stimulus and economic incentives to that. But it is up to the states really to decide when local businesses can reopen for the protection of the citizens' health.
Do you see this debate continuing, or do you think that most governors across the United States will take it upon themselves to make their own decision for what's right for their state?
Yeah, I think certainly the states and the governors will be making the call. Certainly the national government will try to influence their decision making. And we're seeing some states perhaps join into coalitions, to working groups to try and make it a regional decision with so much interaction between states. Say, for example, Charlotte to Rock Hill, that's crossing over state lines. That's going to have a continued impact and effect. And I think governors of multiple states are going to have to work together with each other if they have that kind of cross-economic connections between states.
Thank you, Dr. Bitzer. We appreciate your insight.
My pleasure.
All right. Stay safe and healthy. I hope your family's well.
They are. Hope